Okay, hi everyone. This is a meeting of the Sleepy Hollow Local Development Board. Date is November 18th. We've got full attendance. First order of business are the minutes from October 28th. Anybody have any changes, edits, questions?
Was I here?
I was
Yes.
not.
Yeah, so the expenditures says I was absent. I think that's the only.
Well, you didn't.
Maybe you can.
Oh, I came in like that's the
You were
day.
late.
You're right. I was 30 minutes late that night. Yep, okay.
Okay,
My
so
bad.
we'll leave that. Any other changes or edits?
Motion to approve the minutes of October 20th.
Second motion to approve.
You seconded, okay, all in favor? I'm gonna abstain, I wasn't here, but, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. Expenditures, did we get a chance to look at those? We had a wooden turn, and, Sean's lawn with the biggies and. Other than that, everything's straightforward. What, oh, by the way, Joan, what's the, Brown and Company?
So
It's a small one, is that?
Yeah.
insurance or-
There are experts
For which insurance?
for our, overall liability, like same companies, same, broker that,
Okay,
but we just pay them for our workers' comp also.
got it.
The waterfront park, is that the west coast?
No, it's, I don't know why the invoice is waterfront park, it's the skate park project.
Oh,
I keep on that.
yeah, so you shouldn't call
Yeah, there's a little bit of
You can see
software
the water.
between.
it a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Any other questions, folks?
Motion to approve the expenses.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Furniture, no resolutions tonight. Which brings us to Dan on his update. What do you got for us?
We'll jump right into it. A quick update on everything East Parcel. Work completed or in progress. The sanitary sewer repairs are greater than 90% complete. Remaining work is limited to just sealing the manholes, pressure testing, and then backfill and removal of the bypass.
And that's 90%,
Yeah, I
even
mean,
though they haven't backfilled yet.
correct. Because
I went down there today, there was a big crane down in the
yeah,
pit.
they're stripping the formwork. So most of the work up to this point was removing the remaining damaged infrastructure, cleaning around the existing piles, adding new reinforcement for the piles that are being reused. Resetting new structures throughout, placing a significant amount of reinforcement for the concrete cradle, and then doing the concrete cradle in two separate pours, a bottom half, after which they use concrete blocking to set the new manhole at the appropriate inverts. Last Wednesday, they did the final concrete pour that effectively built the cradle around the pipe. And what they've done since then is basically stripping the forms, a little bit of backfilling just to the bottom of the open excavation. But before they can cover it over, they have to do pressure testing where they seal everything off and go manhole to manhole, pipe run to pipe run, just to make sure that any leakage is within Department of Health standards. So once that's scheduled for December 2nd, once that's completed, they'll know whether it passed fails.
The pressure testing's not till December 2nd.
Right.
Why do we have to wait so long?
That's the earliest they could get a company out to do the pressure test.
That's basically the week I think.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's 98, 99%?
Well, the remaining work, as I mentioned, they have to put
Thanksgiving.
the manhole frames and covers
They
on.
still have Monday,
Um,
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Backfilling is basically the significant work remaining, and then they disconnect and they'll take out.
You're having it or going?
So we're at, I think between the two invoices, we're at like 1.2 million of 1.5 total.
Yeah, no, but I mean, by December 2nd, it'll be basically.
Well, the week of December 2nd, once the testing is gonna be done over 2 days, they'll know right then and there if it passes or not. WSP will will essentially certify the results and pass that along to the Department of Health. And it should only take about a day for them to turn around,
And then they'll backfill?
and then they'll backfill.
When they do backfill, do there need to be any like gating or anything above it to make sure things don't drive over it?
The contractor will have to protect the utilities, just like any other project. At this point, the heavy, earthwork and back and forth is more or less done at this point, minus whatever they're bringing from our stockpile to backfill the wall. But yes, they will have to protect if they do need to, cross over back and forth. But at this point, once they backfill, they should have sufficient cover. They're basically building up to finished road, elevation to put in whatever remaining utilities.
So it
Are
doesn't
there.
need any special treatment.
Well, they certainly shouldn't be driving large trucks back and forth over it.
So
So
WSP is responsible to make sure.
I think given the events that have transpired, everyone is well aware.
How about the wall?
So precast wall construction, they have set, well, as of Friday, they were at about 48 units of the 424. Today, they put in essentially most of the bottom row. So I think in total, they're at about 60 units placed. Now, these units are mostly the larger 20-foot, in that range. And there's also a under drain that is integral to the units themselves. So given the size, given that they have to put in the under drain, there's more fill required to go within all the units and compact.
What are they using in the cells?
Select material, basically the
They're
same.
compacting it?
Yep,
Okay, so it's not
And-
self-compacting.
nope. And yep, and they have, I think advanced testing is on site to make sure that they're meeting, minimum compaction standards.
So you're
Um,
using whackers?
Within, I think they have the jumping jacks,
Jumping jacks, yeah.
but then everywhere else they're running rollers. So once they place enough fill above the unit,
Yeah,
they can,
Get a bigger machine. Oh, got it.
right. And again, within the footprint, they're working within like a 24-foot
Yeah.
hole. As the wall goes vertical, they backfill, they gain
Yeah.
exponentially more space.
Yeah.
So while the past 5 or 6 days, they've been averaging about 10 units per day. As they move forward, that's going to go upwards to maybe even 30 or 40, as the units become 4 foot deep instead of 20 foot deep. Less fill it goes,
Legos.
Yep. And they all like Lincoln logs. Each row is offset. They go back right on top of one another. So that work is estimated to be complete by mid-December. It's really not weather dependent, the placing and the backfilling. Additionally, the demolition of 193 Beekman. The contractor's estimating that work to start sometime this week, if possible. There is a building permit pending from the village building department. The missing piece really is just making sure that, which they submitted today, was their certificates of insurance that the village wanted to see.
So when they tear that down, how many days will that take?
It's about, what they have in their schedule is 15 days. It will likely go quicker than that. But
And then after that, they're gonna fill. They'll fill after the wall's completed. When will that be?
they'll likely both be finishing around the same time.
Okay.
So assuming they start, let's just say next Monday, and they've got 3 weeks of demolition, They probably have 3 to 4 weeks to get the wall up to a point where they're grading everything out in that
Yeah,
entire area. So, I mean, we'll have a good, gut check, by our next meeting in 2 weeks to see how, if the project is, accelerating or the progress of the wall is accelerating.
We have to do anything for erosion.
Well, there are standard erosion control. I mean, they have to, anything that's fill, has to be seeded. Most of it though is in the building, and then it'll be a concrete molded slab is the roadway.
Okay.
Outside of those locations, and then maybe a drainage ditch at the top of the wall to make sure everything's graded to drain, and any exposed slopes would have turf established. In addition to the demolition of 193 Beekman, we are going to need to bring on a third party for oversight of air quality monitoring and asbestos handling. This is something that, I had reached out to Rue to see if that was a service that they could provide as just in addition to what they're already doing on site. But they are not licensed to work in or around asbestos in New York State. So I've reached out to a couple of companies that they recommended, and it looks like, in the ballpark of about $15,000 for that 3 week of demolition. And obviously, if they charge per diem. So if it's 10 days of demolition versus 15, it's 2/3 of the.
Do they set up the containment?
The contractor is responsible for setting up containment. A independent third party is responsible for making sure that, for doing the air.
So they're sniffing outside,
Correct.
not inside.
I believe so. They are probably also taking samples inside to
Yeah.
make sure that, and this is mostly because of the Department of Labor standards, to make sure that, I believe they test the personnel as well. Right. So if anyone comes back with a higher level of whatever it is that they test for, they're no longer allowed to work for, some period of time.
Asbestos is airborne.
Yeah, well, that's why, and the methodology, the contractor applied for a variance to do controlled demolition rather than have to do two separate, one demolition to remove all the friable, non-friable. They will take out the friable asbestos, and then they will demolish the rest of the building, including the non-friable, in place. So they'll have two separate dumpsters on site.
So they're gonna take it someplace special.
Correct, and that's part of the submission that went to, I shared with the board, and that was part of the building permit application.
That'll take care of lead paint.
Yeah, so there's, I think in the end, bottom of the work plan that was provided, listed several, facilities, right, that are licensed to handle the different types of, hazardous
Do we need
materials.
to make it, the local houses? there?
I think the only one that is the property directly east, where they have to shield the side of their building, just to make sure that nothing, comes in from their windows, given the proximity, but that's the only one.
So is this?
Have you talked to the DPW at all about anything being salvageable? Is there anything they want? Weren't there some nice,
Rails.
There's the
tiles, right?
Tiles in the basement,
the-
or the back?
Right, so the tiles, they had already looked at that at the beginning of the project, and most of those pallets of tiles had enough damage that they weren't salvageable. They took out the range that was in the kitchen. I think that
Which was a bust.
which ultimately ended up not getting used.
That went to the Eagles, and they couldn't get it working.
There's a bunch of old furniture and things.
What about, is there any, mementos or any historical stuff that people may want?
There is a very large, United Auto Workers local union number, big wooden sign in the main.
We might wanna.
Yeah, we
see
should
if-
save that.
Yeah,
Is it worth doing a quick walkthrough to make sure there's nothing else, or? is it-
Yeah, I mean-
is there-
let's just make sure there's nothing in there that's got historical value.
You could reach out to the Torvalds.
Yeah.
Tell them you're demolishing.
Well, for sure. I mean, most of the, like the cinder blocks for the foundation and interior walls, that's where most of these asbestos containing materials are. carpeting inside, but yeah, I mean, it's more than welcome to coordinate. I can walk it with Kevin Smith or whoever else.
Yeah, do that. That's good.
Anything that, they wanna pull out of there.
So is the material they're removing, is it just fall on cradle to grave hazardous materials?
Say that again?
Does it fall under cradle to grave hazardous materials? In other words, there'll be a manifest that goes with each load. And then whoever's name is on that manifest owns that material forever. Is this the kind of hazardous material that we're dealing with on this? Do you know?
I don't know that answer specifically. I can reach out to both the demolition contractor.
Usually because there'd be a hazardous waste manifest generated, somebody needs to sign it, and you won't be able to sign it, it's gonna have to be somebody else.
Right.
Usually. that's
Yeah,
how
no,
it goes.
and I don't know if that is on the, the contractor they are disposing it, so there is
You-
going to be
you
a
might
manifest
have-
generated,
Yeah,
and it's going to whatever
they have
facility.
instead of having the trucks ready, to go and then, somebody could, here, sign this.
Yeah.
People here,
Because
you don't
What
want to
else
sign
you
it.
got, Dan?
so that's that.
They're taking everything down to foundations and they're putting fill in where, like, to level it out.
They will be leveling everything to make sure that it grades to drain, given the height of the retaining wall that's being built, but not placing any excess fill more than necessary.
But it's like, there's a base.
So that basement will be excavated and then there'll be, given the roadway, there might be a little slope down.
So it's not gonna be like a ferry, it's not gonna be like a flat.
It won't be, flat, across, but it'll be flat enough that it'll be a consistent grade from road, embankment to top of wall. Just to make sure everything is grading to drain. Yeah, and it's over about 100 cells. It'll probably appear pretty dark. A completion schedule has been requested from the contractor to demonstrate how they are going to complete the remaining work. The remaining work mainly consisting of, outside of the wall, the lighting and drainage, curbing and sidewalk, as well as final paving and other finished work. So we'll be able to compare that to whatever the current completion date is and be able to move forward from there. Next, moving forward to the skate park project. We do have some revised site plans, minorly revised, showing the preferred configuration for the skate parks and racket sport courts. The Woodard and Curran design team, as well as the LDC, will be presenting tomorrow night, Village Board of Trustees. The planning board has also been invited as a courtesy, just to attend as their first look, before the design team would be applying for building permit from them.
Is it at a point now where there's some clear project on the table?
Correct. And the goal is effectively to get a head nod from the Board of Trustees to allow the LDC to continue and negotiate the design build amendment with the design team.
And is it laddered or tiered for the trustees to make decisions on
Yep. So
cost versus?
Yeah, what are the?
correct. So the decisions are mainly the layout of the racket sport
Yeah.
courts. And then there are a number of enhancements or beautifications. Some that were directly from the public feedback, others that were just from the initial RFP. So those would be, do they want to put in a post-tension concrete base under the racket sport courts to, reduce the long-term maintenance and increase the durability? Addition of lighting for both the skate park, tennis
I
courts.
saw the list that you had.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest is having a recommendation for each one. So it sounds like the layout of the racket sport courts, overwhelming public feedback is to do the courts.
Right, and that's what's been demonstrated in the updating of the overall site plan.
Yeah,
Right, so this
yeah,
was the,
okay.
Previously it showed the 2 tennis courts
Got it.
for the
So
multi.
instead of having that list of decisions, it should be you know, for concrete tension, whatever, that explanation was, recommendation. You should do this because it will save number amount over time. Lighting, you should not do this, you should do this, have it for everything. Based on public feedback and just general,
Okay.
And that's
Just do it background.
yeah, background. 'Cause
comfortable doing.
Well, it's ultimately it would be Woodard and Curran as the architect, their recommendation, not the LDC's recommendation. Because ultimately it is for the village board. Most of these have, a direct impact on overall cost of the project.
And you can do
Right.
that by tomorrow's meeting?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's,
And I know some of them like the amphitheater, like that's, do you
It's-
want it or not?
it's just increasing the project
Right,
size.
yeah.
There's
Do
no.
you want to
So-
increase the scope or not? But like the concrete one, you didn't want it to have extra information.
Yeah, that's really one of the only ones, that, that and maybe upgrade in, irrigation, meaning like
Yeah.
a automated, or sprinkler
Yeah.
system versus just hose bids that can be, connected to. But everything else, the lighting, there's nothing that precludes coming in and adding lighting as part of a future
So
project.
that's a very good
And
fact.
I think that would apply similarly to most of those other items, is there's, it's what we're building here does not preclude any or most of that in the future.
And can you get that out as a pre-read so that people can have it? Like when they walk in, it's printed out. with-
Yeah, there should be, I gave the whole, presentation,
Great.
should be in your packets for tomorrow.
But that does not have the extra.
What I'll do is I'll touch base with the architect to just see
Yeah.
if they can put a simple memo or email
Yeah,
together
perfect.
that addresses.
Like
those
one
points.
page executive summary, here are the decisions you want to make. 1 through 10, here are the facts that you need to know.
Okay.
Otherwise, and then I think the presentation itself should be 5 minutes, and then the rest of the time should be devoted to discussion and Q&A on this. People are gonna say, well, if we do this, can we do that? And, if we do the concrete tension, then can we do the, other option in the same place? And there'll be lots of different things. So I think you're better served with the time dedicating it to Q&A rather than presentation. In other words, I don't think the slides should just go up and somebody talks.
Okay.
And does this mean there's extra cost with this designer as we change?
There would
Everybody's
be.
aware of that?
Yeah, the number, the cost is,
Yeah, it's
it's
well
a
laid
full
out.
number cost is. But yeah, like additional landscaping at like.
Yeah.
2,000, it's just like, what's,
So
is there a scope or percentage or something?
It-
Lights,
Yeah.
surface.
Really, yeah,
What would you get?
it depends. If it's just as simple as including the post-tension concrete, there's likely no change to the design cost. Lighting, that's not something that's been, was conceived as part of the initial scope. There would be, in addition to that physical lighting cost, there might be some, amount towards,
Well,
engineering
they're
design.
building this too. It's called designing.
Correct.
Yeah, so
But you have a cost.
that's what the cost would be, yeah.
The cost for the lights, yep.
I guess the other question is like, for something like the cost of lights, is it 170 now, but if we do it later, is it 200, because they have to come back and mobilize? Is it just like,
It's difficult to say at this point because these are really just, range of magnitude estimates. They haven't done any meaningful design work to lay out, the exact amount of product. And that's also,
That's a fair
built
point.
into the, overall design build cost, right? So right now they have a, for the entire project, if nothing else was selected, it's about 2.1 million, right? To build the plan as is. That could go up, that could go down as they move through design, right? Because, things like that haven't been added, or there's probably some contingency built in to allow for, some of those small things as the design is progressing.
Or if something gets deleted, there's a credit.
So.
When are they on the agenda tomorrow? Do we know?
First on the agenda, so it's shortly after 7 PM.
So you
And
see-
you're on the commission, right? And so, does anybody here need to be there for that?
I think it's up to you.
So
I
it's strictly,
may come by.
Yeah.
especially if it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I think the most important thing though is to really get that here are the 10 things.
Decision matrix.
Yes, exactly. Because if you hand them a presentation like this, it's gonna be like, oh, well, what about this? And you're not gonna focus.
Yeah,
should-
this should be the first thing.
Yeah,
So
that-
that they can just check off what they like.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan, did
Yeah.
that happen?
Potentially like the only thing that you really want about.
Okay, what else you got there?
Let's see. What else we have? Also part of this project, there's a geotechnical, engineer that's on site today and tomorrow, just to do a couple of borings. This is mainly required in the locations of the courts and the skate park, so that they can do the subgrade design, basically what they need to support the concrete and whatever materials the courts are made out of.
So that's falling under this designer.
That's falling under this designer, yep.
Are the enhancements numbered and keyed into a plan that is easily followed for these people?
I don't know if it shows on the plan that's included in.
I mean, just so it's very
Yeah.
clear, 'cause some of the things.
But I think your point is right, like this is,
Yeah,
it corresponds, but if there's a list of 1 through 8 things you need to decide, this should be a reference. So you say, okay, the first thing we need to talk about
Yeah.
is the design of the tennis courts. And then everybody looks at the map.
It's like,
And then
where's for instance, where's the rain garden basin for 30,000? I think it just will help the conversation, make people not have to ask more questions. For each of the 7.
okay. Yeah, there's a.
So you're looking at the proposal.
No, it's
You're
just
looking at the presentation,
presentation.
Dan.
And did they have detailed numbers? I didn't look.
It's a, like a PowerPoint pictures
Yeah.
of the design, and then the last page is the costs. Here are the options that you have to decide.
So it didn't
Yeah,
give an
they-
actual cost breakdown of all. of
It does,
the
yeah,
products.
it does, yeah. So all the information is there.
Yeah.
It's just, it's gotta be
Okay.
pulled out and, yeah.
People
Do
can
you
see.
follow that?
Okay,
That pretty much wraps up, that project. Security updates, I did get a revised fencing quote from Colony Fence, that's been updated to show 2,600 linear feet plus 6, double leaf gates, for a total of $75,000. Previously it was 1,600 linear feet and 5 gates for, 48,000. So that actually works out to about $29 per linear foot. I did ask that they include some cost per foot for different, like 6 foot versus 8 foot, as directed, within their proposal.
Are we concerned about fabric?
I don't think so.
And
That's all it's really ever been, is chain link, unless there's a desire for it. Paris reporting has been completed. That was actually submitted today by our CFO. And the use of the East parcel for de-energizing EV battery, Lucid and Clean Harbor are still having some ongoing internal discussions about this proposal. Really the last update is Lucid is considering a donation to the LDC, for use of the East parcel for this proposal, although nothing's been proposed yet. So it's really just in waiting to see if and what they propose.
donation.
Yeah,
A
we don't take-
a
We're not
donation,
gonna give a charitable deduction, they're gonna
correct.
pay something that's taxable.
So I don't know if that's the only hiccup, or if it sounds like there might be some other things, because there is there's a contract.
See what they come back with. I've been thinking about that. I actually think I know you're not, but I'm kind of in favor of it. It's, if the price is right, but we can decide that after we get more information. And then we'll have to just
As long as if it melts,
console
if it melts,
Warren.
yeah, if it melts down, as long as I can say I voted against it.
Right.
It'll be in the minutes.
Right, yeah,
Is your
exactly. On
hand
the
in your
record.
house?
Yeah, yeah. And everybody on edge was get stuck in traffic.
Okay,
Last,
anything else?
yeah, lastly, our next scheduled meetings were revised to be December 2nd, which is in 2 weeks, as well as December 16th, which would be in 4 weeks. And I think attached to the handouts was a schedule for 2025 that I took a look through just to make sure there weren't any conflicts with, holidays and things like that. So that's effectively a draft.
Thank you.
moving Forward through next year. Obviously subject to change, if there are any months where we want to shift things around because of issues with quorum or holiday travel, things like that.
First I saw this and I thought this was the number. Like, oh, we only have 10 meetings in this too, but now.
Oh, yeah, there's 2 for each.
All right, any other, old business or new business?
Is the gate supposed to be closed going down into, did you get my email? There was like some people down in the east parcel on, I forget what night it was. The parking area that was being used as overflow parking, that gate was open,
Okay,
the like Continental Street gate.
was this,
over the weekend.
the main gate?
Main gate, yeah.
Wait, the HHV gate or
No,
the
no,
gate that
the
goes
main
to the?
The main gate on Continental Street by the trailer that we have was
Okay.
open, because for a while it was being used for overflow parking, but it's not anymore.
Yeah, did you, I didn't get an email. Do you,
Oh,
do you know the date that it happened?
I could check.
'Cause I can check the security footage.
Okay.
And it's, the problems that we've been having, the folks that we've been having problems with the most is actually, Metro North. They have a tendency to open the
Ah.
gate and not shut it because maybe they're still in there, or they will lock up, put locks wrong,
Okay,
necessitating DPW or a contractor to cut the chains
Ah.
and rebolt everything together, but
So people-
if you let me know the day,
Yeah,
can-
let me
I can
find
take a
out.
look and see maybe it was,
Saturday.
over the weekend.
Yeah.
Was this during the HHV?
It was the evening time when it normally would have been open for overflow parking during the season. So that's why I thought
Okay.
maybe somebody left it open thinking it was still being used for overflow parking.
Possibly. Yeah, I can take a look
Are
through.
we still having stuff going on
I
at
don't think so.
HHV? Okay.
They finished on, November 3rd. Was their last day, last Sunday.
Okay, anything else, folks? Otherwise, I want to go into exec to discuss some legal and, contract negotiations.
Motion to go into executive session for legal and contract negotiations.
All in favor, say aye.
Oh, sure, thank you.
Something.
Yeah.
That goes on the,
Yeah, but
Who's our